Hi, I'm Sarah Gonzalez here at the Daily Wire once again with special guest Andrew Klavan for the news and why it matters. Thank you so much for being here, Andrew.
Andrew, I just want to know, because you wrote, which Clint Eastwood movie was it?
True Crime.
True Crime. Did you meet him?
I met him after it was over, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He's like number one on my bucket list.
Oh my! He's first of all, the funny thing about him is he's a genuine artist. He's not.
No, I know.
And you're so used to seeing that face as a cop and a cowboy that when he opens his mouth and he starts saying artist things, it's kind of shocking. It's like, my vision for this piece was, I was talking to my agent, and you think like, hey, so he's an actor and a director. I get it now. It's strange.
Well, thanks for rubbing it in. He's really not all that.
He didn't mention you, though. I don't know.
No, I know he didn't.
Glenn, what was your top story?
Bert Ernie.
Bert Ernie.
Bert Ernie.
I can't wait to talk about why that matters still.
The ever-evolving Kavanaugh saga that we're in the middle of keeps evolving.
All right.
I wanted Bert Ernie, but I'll have to settle for Trump declassifying the FISA documents.
Which, may matter a little bit more.
I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know in today's world.
But before we get into that, want to thank our sponsor, Minostalgia. We've longtime fans of Minostalgia. They have the pepper jellies. They have the beer jellies. I wish we should have traveled with some so we could have had Andrew try some.
I don't know. One of the people on our party already was stopped by the airport police. Did you know that?
That's true. Yes, I did.
Tyler, he looks like a drug smuggler.
But Minostalgia is not drugs.
No, I know. So. But if he would have been like, no, really, it's just a bag full of jelly.
That's true.
I don't know.
That's true.
What drug looks like jelly?
They've got.
Like you don't know.
The wild rice flour. It's good because it's really healthy, but it's also delicious. So your kids will eat it, and you can feel good about feeding it to them. Give them the waffles, the polenta, and you can get giant bags. So it's available in the 5 and the 8 pound bags. Go there now. It is blazewildrice.com. Plus 10% of the proceeds will be used to, they'll be donated to Mercury One and the Nazarene Fund. And there really is no better time than right now to do that. So blazewildrice.com and use the promo code HELP10.
Are you even thinking about doing the, kneading rice? No, not even kneading rice. The Nazarene Fund, we are trying to rescue another 16,000 Christians and Yazidis and getting them out of Syria by the end of the year, and we are running low on funds.
Yeah.
So please help.
So get waffles and also help Glenn.
Help the Christians with waffles.
I am all for that.
Working for you.
Do I look like I'm against that?
I want to get to Andrew's story first, but I have to just comment. The smell in here is a little off today. It's a little odorous.
Cigars.
Well, you guys were having a big party last night.
That's the cigar. We do the show. We used to call it the Cigar Show, but they won't let us on YouTube if we call it the Cigar Show. So,
really?
Yeah, so we call
Seriously?
It that. Yeah, they don't like you smoking and advertising tobacco and things like that.
Wow.
But it does get, I have to say, Sarah, when I walked in and saw your face as you were sniffing the air, my wife came to my mind because she does not, I can smoke these things, and 3 weeks later, she's like, could you sit a little down?
Yeah. My wife,
sticks to everything.
When I first started dating her, I smoked cigars. And she just looked at me one time and said, I can't imagine kissing a man who smokes cigars. And I just looked at this great cigar and I was like, goodbye, my old friend.
You have to remember Kipling, right? A woman is a woman.
So last night, instead of cigars, I heard that this was yours, Glenn.
Oh my gosh.
Is that true?
Puff the Magic Dragon?
Yeah.
No. No.
I don't know. I saw.
So I will tell you that I did send my assistant out to go to get this medical device here in California, and it was quite an adventure. Now it is the Glenn Beck Memorial Bong.
All right, Andrew, your top story.
My top story. Well, one of the great pieces of cognitive dissonance of the Trump era is they keep telling us that Trump is a fascist and authoritarian and everything he says is wrong and he's breaking the Constitution, where really though he talks, the things he says can be awful, he really hasn't done anything to violate constitutional governance. Whereas, as we look back on the Obama administration, not only did they corrupt the IRS so that it was shutting down, conservative voices, and not only did they send out the State Department to lie about Benghazi, but it is now becoming very clear that the Justice Department, at its top levels, was mobilized to spy on the Trump campaign. And after it's been almost years now of people urging Trump to declassify these documents. He has declassified a handful of texts and the FISA warrant pages, which we hope will actually reveal what they were doing when they put out a warrant to spy on his campaign. And I've got to say that John Brennan's reaction alone, I mean, John, the former CIA director, who said, well, he has the authority to do it, but and to me, that's the end of the sentence. There is no but after he has the authority to do it, right? Yeah. But he says they should resist, they should quit, they resign, do all this stuff. Well, really, at this point, the question is, what are they hiding? And I think this is the right thing to do. And I just think that the entitlement of what they now call the deep state, which turns out to be real. I mean, it's like a conspiracy theory that turned out not to be a theory. The entitlement of the deep state, the idea that if they didn't like the outcome of this election, they were authorized somehow by some magic force to reverse it, is really becoming quite clear and dangerous.
How do you define the deep state? Because there's the deep state, like Turkey, and then there's a deep state like we have. And I'd like to know your definition of what we have.
What I feel is the deep state are the unelected people who can become a permanent government. When all our elected officials come in, they go out. These are the people who really know what goes on, and they're the people who really turn the gears of government. Mm-hmm. Now, on one level, that's a good thing. I'm sure 90% of them are loyal, honest, steadforward bureaucrats who are going in and just turning the pencil sharpener and making sure everything works. But it doesn't take too many, especially at the top, to start thinking, I really know what's going on. I can pull the paper off Donald Trump's desk. I really know what's going on, and they shouldn't have elected this guy. We should really stop this. Just you and me, like Strzok and Page, kind of going back and forth. I will stop this from happening. And those are the dangerous people.
So that's exactly what I believe we have in America, and it's some people take the deep state as this real conspiracy, where they're meeting in a star chamber and all that crap. It's not. It is just the best example, and we've known it forever, is the State Department. Right. The State Department believes we'll be here long after you're gone, Mr. President, so we'll delay and we'll do what we want, and they will really push back. The best thing that can happen is, we keep talking about term limits for Congress. Well, it was good enough for the president, but Congress doesn't want to do that. But nobody's even talking about term limits for public servants.
It's a really good point.
Right? The whole thing has to change out.
When you meet people at the State Department, the first thing you are struck by is how incredibly intelligent and well-educated they are. And the second thing you're struck by is that they don't know things that ordinary people know. So they'll talk to you about, I remember talking to an old State Department hand telling me how terrible it was that Israel had bombed Saddam Hussein's nuclear reactor. And because it was illegal, that was an illegal thing to do. And I said, I got to tell you something. That's an illegal act. I never lost a minute's sleep over Israel doing that. And I wish they'd gone back and done it again. And they really have kind of lost the plot of reality to some degree. And I do think it would be a great idea to turn them over from time to time.
The worst thing I have seen in Washington, D.C., I saw this during the Obama administration. I bet it's the same still under the Trump administration. It's 2008. I go to Washington, D.C., and the sky is full of cranes, just full of cranes. And they are building this mega city. And it's all government or people who are serving the government or trying to leech off the government or influence the government. It was the only place in America, besides Texas, that was growing. And it's obscene. Yeah. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be this behemoth. And you live in there, and you just start to have the attitude, quite honestly, that the New York elites have, that, everybody else in the country, whatever, we know what's going on. That is not the American system.
You know, they used to call it Hollywood for ugly people.
Yeah.
Not true anymore. You used to go to Washington. It's true. You used to go to Washington, and the women were kind of dowdy, and the men were shabby, and all this. Now it looks like L.A. You will go there, and everybody looks great, and you think, why do they look so great? Oh, because they have all my money.
Not for that reason, but I mean, look at Melania, and that's something we never talk about. We have the most beautiful first lady ever in history. She's never on a cover.
No,
she's she's never been on a magazine cover. It's crazy how they just ignore her.
It's true, and she's shockingly good at her job. I would never have said before she took office that this is going to be a good first lady, but I'm proud when she goes out there. She does a good job.
She not only does a good job on her. I mean, I was going to say, what is her job? First lady or being married to him? She does both of them very well.
She does. She really does.
All right, Glenn, Bert and Ernie.
They're gay, you know.
I mean, they're puppets. So, are you sure?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if their genitals are made out of felt.
Do they have genitals?
No,
Felt genitals, I'm sure they do.
Sure they do.
Under the clothes?
Sure they do.
Look,
Sure they do. Nope, they're not functioning.
That would be ridiculous, right?
It's not like Ernie looks at Miss Piggy and all of a sudden, something is happening in felt.
Taxi? Could I get a taxi out of it?
Right. Okay. So the writer, writes and speaks out and says, "I've always felt that that they were gay, and it reminds me of me and my husband." Okay, whatever, but that they're not you and your husband. You know that, right? This is Bert and Ernie. So the Frank Oz, he comes out and he has to
have a tweet.
You have a tweet?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Tweet.
Yeah.
It's up.
Seems Mr. Saltzman was asked, that's the writer, if Bert and Ernie are gay. It's fine that he feels that they are. They're not, of course. But why that question? Does it really matter? Why do we need to define people only as gay? There's so much more human beings to human beings than just straightness or gayness. Well, this set off just an avalanche of hate. They've got to be gay. Don't you know what they mean to all the little boys? No, I don't. I don't. As a little boy, I wasn't thinking of that. Now, when you start to become a teenager, the joke is, come on, really, seriously, what are the two guys doing? But if you look at why they were created in the first place, and then you go back and read the tweets and what people are doing, it's astonishing that none of us learned a damn thing from Bert and Ernie. Because the reason why they were created is they're very different. Bert is stodgy. He's kind of the Felix Unger. The Felix Unger. Mm-hmm. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to remember, Madison. Oscar Madison is Ernie. It's very Neil Simon-ish, where they're two people, they're very different. And the whole point was, you can live side by side and get along no matter how different you are. He's yellow, the other one's orange. One's tall, one's short. One is funny and goofy, one is grumpy. You can live together and get along even though you're very different. And look at what we're doing.
Only if you say that they're both gay.
Yeah. Only if you say they're both gay can we live together. It's crazy.
You have to call them Guppets, gay Muppets. And they will not be accepted.
I didn't know Guppets.
Yes, you gotta go
is that
Guppets.
The new word?
It is. It's the only acceptable word.
All right.
For what
if I say that they were gay Muppets or just Muppets, am I banished?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
you are. It's interesting because I felt kind of bad for the writer in a way because he was describing his relationship, and he saw his relationship reflected. But they sleep in separate beds. They sleep in separate beds. They rarely show affection with each other. That's a sad relationship. I hope that wasn't really how his relationship was. I don't know why he wrote it that way.
This has been a bad week for cartoons, though, because this is right after Stormy Daniels said that Trump's junk looked like the mushroom from what was it, Mario Kart?
No,
Mario Kart.
No.
Yeah.
I think Trump thinks it looks like that.
We gotta. Can we get this again?
Before we go to break.
The flag.
Yeah, right there. I think he thinks it looks.
Well, that's what Trump thinks.
Right. Yes.
Stormy had another opinion.
You should hear what Bert says.
This is a great time for a break. We'll be right back.
Get us out of here, please.
Coming up, your daily dose of the Kavanaugh circus. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, Brickhouse, who has been keeping me functioning while in LA and on LA time with their product From Dawn to Dusk, which...
The two of you, both bright, bushy-tailed. Why aren't you sharing any of this with me?
This is just...
I am so...
This is all makeup.
Eat.
Yeah, it's a killer.
Yeah.
That time change is a killer. But From Dawn to Dusk has been working for me really well. And then they also have Field of Greens, which I've got to get you to try. I've got to get you to try it. But
good luck. My wife says that about a salad every time I pass one.
But it's delicious is the
to
thing. It's not a salad. I find a salad to be delicious, but I'm putting myself in your shoes right now. You will love Field of Greens because it's one full serving of fruits and vegetables, just the scoop, and you can mix it into whatever.
I will tell you that Pat likes it, and Pat is practically Oscar the Grouch.
Yeah.
He hates it. Who, by the way, is gay.
I don't.
Wait, Pat or Oscar?
Oscar's
Pat,
totally
But yeah, so it's great for people who really don't like to eat vegetables like these guys here. But you can still get the benefits of eating vegetables. Go to brickhouseblaze.com and use promo code GREENS. You can get 15% off your first order, or you can text GREENS to 41411. All right, Kavanaugh.
Well, Dianne Feinstein, who's kind of led this Kavanaugh thing, the Democrats are now a little upset because she's blown it so badly. She didn't let anyone know about this letter, and then it comes out, and now the woman doesn't want to testify. They don't seem to have much of anything. They've tried to pull out now another person who went to the school who they're using as a reference to prove this case, and her quote was that she heard a buzz about the incident at the time. And because of this person's vivid recollection of the incident, we have to believe
of the buzz.
Because vivid recollection is the brand new version of I don't know what time or location it occurred. That apparently those are now the same thing. So Feinstein is kind of getting hammered by some of the Democrats behind the scenes because this was their big play, But, some people are sticking by it. Cory Booker is out tweeting about how he can't believe...
He's
Spartacus, exactly.
We didn't have any phones back then.
But that one's amazing, though, too. And I did not honestly know this until recently, but he actually, in one of his books, admitted to groping a girl as a teenager. And he's out there criticizing Kavanaugh.
Wow.
He admitted to groping a girl as a teenager against her will after she pushed his hand away. And he did it anyway. And it's like, well, you don't get to comment on this one. Can you take a break? Maybe it's a good time for a vacation if you've got one coming up. It's just a strange thing. And I think this has come in phases, right? At the beginning, it was, hey, Brett Kavanaugh is going to get rid of your birth control, and he's really bad on abortion. And they tried to get it on at least something, while it was a bunch of lies, at least tied to an issue. Then they had this phase where they were still trying kind of a Hail Mary to stop Kavanaugh at any cost. And I think now, given that she's not going to testify, at least at this point, that we've entered a new phase, which is, look, the guy's getting confirmed, but let's get a good argument for the election out of it. And so they're now trying to build this argument that the GOP wouldn't even wait for an investigation. They care so little about women. They wouldn't even wait for an investigation to confirm this guy. Why not at least hear her story? Have an investigation. Have the FBI look into it. And they're trying to pull this into a reason to vote for Democrats. I don't know. The whole argument is about trying to activate their base, and maybe it works, but it's depressing.
I find it disturbing that their argument is always essentially the same, which is essentially give up your due process rights, give up your constitutional rights, because somebody is emotional. This is a woman. She's been so brave to come forward. Are you going to doubt her? And I think, I doubt anybody. Anybody who makes an accusation, a criminal accusation against another person has to be doubted, right? The burden of proof is always on the accuser. But they act like you're being a terrible, terrible guy because she's a woman, or she's black, or she's gay, or she's short, or she's white, whatever it is. It's the constant erosion of constitutional norms for emotional reasons. And I just think it's always the same argument.
We just talked about this when we were talking just a little while ago about the outrage signals virtue. It works as a shield, and then it is a weapon.
Yep.
You cannot defend yourself, or you're a hater. Guilt, shame, guilt, shame, or fear. You have no defense. You can't question them because they were first on the scene signaling their virtue that they cared and you didn't.
Yeah, and I have to be honest. I say this boldly, but knowing it's going to blow back on me. It's like, if this guy has lived unimpeachably for 35 years and he got drunk at a party and did something he shouldn't have done, he shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. But 35 years of unimpeachable living, that doesn't count for anything. That doesn't, you go back into a guy's high school years and you're going to condemn him for that, keep him off the bench for that. What human being can endure that kind of scrutiny?
Exactly. I mean, and Cory Booker apparently was okay, right? Like, Cory Booker did the same thing at almost the exact same age, and he's going to run for president next year. And he's become Spartacus.
Yeah. Well, he likes gladiator movies, which maybe say something else entirely.
I mean, it is amazing, though, that people on the left do tend to somehow get away unscathed, even admitting to that. And then you've got Keith Ellison, who hasn't admitted to anything, but there have been some allegations, against him. And she's said, I have therapist notes from the time. I have multiple coworkers who saw text messages. I talked to them about it. I still have the text messages between Keith and I talking about the abuse. I mean, she allegedly has more evidence than Ford does on anything Kavanaugh did.
She says the Democrats are isolating her and attacking her. And we know they do this because we remember Hillary Clinton saying destroy their stories. Yep. And so we know they do this.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just amazing to me that they can treat their own party that way. And now Kavanaugh is supposed to be hung because he may or may not have done something at the age of 17.
Because of a couple of reasons. The ends justify the means. And there is no one above the party. There's no one above the power of the party. You get in the way, you're expendable.
Yeah.
And it couldn't honestly happen to a nicer group of people. They're eating their own now, and it's amazing to me how many of these people are now feeling for the very first time what it's like to be a conservative.
It is interesting to see what happens in this world of multimedia, in this world of online media. For so long, the Democrats have been surrounded by this kind of, Mars-like dome of the media that protected them in every situation. If it weren't for the Drudge Report, the Bill Clinton scandal never would have come out. They spiked that story. They basically buried the Ted Kennedy story. They have been doing this for years. And now that we're here, basically talking about it, they can't quite do it the same way. And I wonder how transparent that's going to make this kind of strategy.
Well, Glenn, you mentioned that they're eating their own, and that brings up an interesting point. For me, I was on your show a couple days ago, and we talked about Trump's rhetoric and getting down and dirty, and I just said, I felt like there was a better way to talk. There was a better way to present your politics, rather than always going for the negative. I got a lot of heat from the viewers just by simply saying, I'm obviously not, I'm a conservative. You would think that I would be on their side. And they were really, really unhappy with me. So, I think there's a good...
You got that too about me.
I get it all the time.
But we're eating our own too.
It's 50 years of the news media universally, unanimously saying you stink to these people. They would turn on every single late night comedy show. Every single one is anti-Trump. You voted for Trump. You like Trump. You don't get to turn on your TV and watch some comedy at the end of the day. It's no wonder they feel like this. And I do not blame them. And I understand your point of view, but I still don't blame them.
Yeah.
Right. I don't blame them either. But I will say, I think I started telling a story on your show earlier today, where I was on a show and I said he's our president. We elected him, and I got a bunch of people say, you didn't elect him, blah, blah, blah. Well, right. I didn't mean it. I meant it as Americans. We went through an election process, and he is now our president. Right. And that's the way it always should be. Well, they turned on me. How dare you say that? And we have to stop to think. Who's going to come join your club? If everyone who says, I'm not sure, then says, you know what, good point, and you turn on them, nobody's going to join your club.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute. Got to take a break. think we've just ignited a larger conversation that we are going to take into overtime. So Blaze subscribers, go to On Demand to get to the overtime portion. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, rate us, only if it's good.
Yeah.
Don't rate us if you don't like us. And then don't forget, if you have not already done it, order Glenn's book, Addicted to Outrage. It just came out.
Is it out?
And
When does it come out?
I don't know. I haven't heard much about it.
Yeah.
The guy won't.
If you want to know how to solve the problems we're talking about right now, get the book. We'll see you in overtime.